Hey, how's it going? It's the Slayer here, and today we've got an interesting video. I'm showing you a review of the PC version of Tekken 8, and I'm playing it on an Acer Predator Neo Helios with full ultra settings. So we are just seeing all of the features and options available here. Now I've set this up into chapters for your convenient reference, and while I'm quickly showing you the initial features, let me just also recap what and outline what the chapters are, although they'll also be visible in the YouTube video panel and in the description of the video to cut things short if in case you're in a hurry or want to look at a particular section, because this is a pretty big detailed review. So let me basically tell you. So we have started with the introduction and setup here. Then at the 7-minute 41-second mark, I'll show you what controller I'm using. It's a Gamesir Fight stick. And then at the 8-minute 16 mark, we start seeing the replays. That one of the features in this game is you can have a look at your online fight replays, and the AI gives you some tips. So at the 8-minute 31-second marks, we see a fight wherein I'm using Forest Law and I play against a Xiaoyu user. And then at the 11-minute 21-second mark, we see a fight where I'm using Law against King. These are two online fights I won. Then at the 14-minute 22-second mark, you see the Arcade Quest mode, which I'll shortly tell you what it is about, and a demo tournament. Then at the 24-minute 3-second mark, you see an arcade battle mode wherein I'm using the character Victor, because in this mode you also get to play against ghosts of different characters online or your prior gameplay. Then at 30 minutes 14 seconds, you see a couple of battles with arcade ghosts of prior play of other players online. And then in the 37-minute 30-second mark, we briefly touch upon the garbage Tekken Ball mode. And then at the 38 minutes 21-second mark, I show you the customization quickly. Then from the 41 minutes mark, I just show you the online quick match lobby, and at the 41-minute mark, and then at the 42-minute mark, we have another online fight against an advanced opponent, wherein I was using a character I've never used before, much until this video, against a character whose moves I didn't know, and against an opponent that was way more advanced. And even then, I nearly won had the opponent not gotten a bit lucky. So, but yeah, there is potential there if I choose to push with it. And then at the 46-minute mark, to conclude the video for a few minutes, I have included a non-graphic version of Mortal Kombat 1, just highlighting the menu and the features, and no fighting, because that's a game that is often compared to this one. So I thought it'll also be good to show you how that looks on my computer. And now here right now we are in the practice mode, so it's a pretty nice setting in ultra. Now I think initially what had happened when I was shooting this video was my controller type had changed, so some of the buttons were somewhat different. So initially I just mess around here, then I'll just change the controller settings and then get into it. So now in terms of the summary, before we get into the different details of the videos, what I like about Tekken 8 is the tremendous features and content. So it does have a lot of advanced features, including some which my favorite franchise Mortal Kombat could copy, and it does pack in a lot of single player content, and it's tried to do a lot. But does the gameplay live up to the experience it's promising? I have mixed views. Oh yeah, here you see that it's shifted to a Type-C controller, which was a WTF moment for me somehow, and now I've shifted to Type A, which is the type of controller I'm using. So I appreciate that in Tekken 8, one, you've got the story mode from the single player point of view. In addition to the story mode, you also have some very interesting character episodes, which are a series of mini stories about each of the character, and you can play 4 or 5 battles to unlock it in addition to the main story. And then you have the arcade quest mode, which I'll also show you, as you would have seen in the chapter index, which simulates visiting an arcade and you set up an avatar. But I don't really care about that. The main thing is the fight. So you get to fight against either the AI or ghosts of other online players, or your prior battles and things like that. And there's also a super ghost mode, so that is a pretty interesting view. And then in addition to that, you have the conventional arcade battle where you fight 8 opponents and whatnot, and it's got a good practice mode as we're seeing here, with plenty of training. Like it's got combo training and punish training, which is pretty good. And that's from the single player perspective. And then in terms of like online, it's got a good it's got ranked matches, player matches, quick match, and of course it has cross play, which is pretty important. And it has a good online like interesting, like pretty much while you're waiting in the lobby, you can practice and see your frame data, which other games also have. But the key advantage here is that when you look at your replays of online battles, as I'll show you in a short while, you can actually also get tips about things where you could have done things differently, punishes you missed, or what moves you should have done. So that is pretty good. And here we see another feature that I'm demonstrating. By pressing the LB button on the controller, you get a special move, which is good for new players. It is allowed in the online quick match. I don't think it'll be allowed in the what do you call it, the ranked matches. As you see here, it changes your controller setup. So based on the guide on the screen, you can do a power crush, which is a move which is required to break block or your low attacks, or you can do aerial launching attacks, or you can do a speciality move. So instead of you having to manipulate the controls and learn all of that, if you're a new player or somebody who needs a bit of help in the initial unofficial online matches, which don't count towards rank and others, you have this option of just pressing the left button, and you get into this thing whereby it automatically helps you set up these moves. So you still need to play them with skill against a challenging AI and whatnot. So it kind of reminds me of, like, the auto combo setting of Mortal Kombat trilogy from 1996. So, like, as you see here, X is specialty move, Y is air combos, A is power crush, B is low attacks. And this game has a heat system which is new to it. There are mixed feedback on that, but as we get into the arcade battles, I'll demonstrate that heat system to you there, so it'll make more sense there. So and okay, this is my controller, this is what I use. This is a fight stick which can plug into your gaming laptop or desktop by USB. It could perhaps plug into your consoles as well. This mimics the it wasn't specifically designed for Tekken, but it mimics the controls I've seen of the Tekken 5 and 6 and 7 arcade machines in my region. So I kind of got this, and when I first played the demo of this Tekken 8, it worked very well with it. Though in the full game, it's not been that great online, but given how well it worked, I thought I'll try it when I get it on the full game. So that's the kind of the advantage and stuff. Now here I'm again showing you the different modes available, online, offline, and whatnot. And now we get into the thing whereby it looks at your existing online fight replays and shows you what you could have done better. So I'm going to start with a match against Xiaoyu, which I won after I lost the first round. So yeah. But yeah, coming back to what I was saying, so the good things about the key features in this game that could be translated to my favorite franchise, MK, and a couple of others. So while I lose this first round, I'll tell you about those, and then once I get back to beating this lady, we'll get back to the fight. So the key features are, one, that special moves mode that I just showed you, whereby you can activate your power crushes and aerial attacks and all quite easily, which is good for new players, and it's good to guide. And the other thing is this, what we are seeing here, that being able to review your online battle videos with tips from the AI of where you missed the punish. And those are the two key features. And here I get into a bit of my own. I do the power crush and whatnot. So that is there. And the third thing that could adapt from this one is the arcade ghost, that ability to fight ghosts of other players, other online players in your arcade battles offline. Or there's even something called a super ghost battle, which I haven't unlocked yet. And here you see it's giving me a tip about a throw I missed, which I should have countered using the buttons it showed. And now I think I'm about to Yeah, no, here I use one of the moves I know about law from the prior Tekken games, and so I should shortly be demonstrating. Okay, I think I'm about to demonstrate the heat system. No, not yet. So, heat is something you can use once a match where by pressing RB, like, okay, she was in heat mode, I just managed to block that. You get access to a special range of moves and combinations that do higher damage, and you can even do different heat combos. There are lots of mechanics in this game I haven't explored yet. So I eventually do it, if not in this online battle, but in one of the other ones. But here it took me a while because what I didn't like about the online, okay, here it's recommended. There's another technique I could have used which I didn't. What I didn't like about online in this is while the netcode seems as seamless as Tekken 7 or MK11 and MK1, and it wasn't lacking much. I don't think it recognized the controls as well as it should have, because when I played the demo, it didn't have online. The fight stick worked well, and even offline, the fight stick worked pretty well. But when I was playing online, partly because I'm more of a Mortal Kombat player, and here the mechanics are a bit different from prior Tekkens, which I've played casually, and partly because of that, and partly because there was some sort of input recognition lag on the fight stick. Maybe it has something to do with my Acer Predator, which has these issues in other games as well. So the frame rates I was getting for some of my moves, crushes, and counters online was much slower than what they should actually be. And even when I should have been able to interrupt the opponent, it wasn't, and it wasn't letting. And here it shows that I missed a throw, so it wasn't letting me counter the way I should have, and both more skilled or lesser skilled were moving a bit much quicker than initially possible. Or it could be that, because I'm also getting back to Tekken after long and this is a bit different, but there was a bit of that issue there. So initially I lost a bit, but then I started winning matches like crazy. But then after I won a couple of matches, it conveniently lost the connection and said, "Sorry, your connection is lost." So I'm like, sore loser and whatnot. So here again, I lost the first round, but then I won the online fight because this guy was a reasonably proficient technical Tekken player, because his Tekken prowess is 10,406. Mine was only 100. So, but it was clear he was using. See, he was also using that special move setup, due to which he kept on throwing me in the first round. So then I activated that special move setup. I don't think you can do it in a ranked match, but I did it in a quick match here, and I screwed him with a series of low attacks. And okay, that was the heat system. So I did a heat combo. You have access to various combos. You can activate heat once a match, and then so then I also activated the special mode, and I did a range of low attacks and throws and crushes to get this guy, because he himself, although he's got much more proficiency, was using that mode in between on and off. So then I said, oh, and actually this is the first time I got a perfect match online, which isn't pretty bad, but it runs pretty close. So then eventually I win this match, and here it's showing me that I missed a throw counter, which I should have done. So here that's the problem that I had with the fight stick. Was maybe it's the fight stick and the Acer Predator. It was a bit slow in recognizing the back and backward crouch movement in an online fight, which is crucial for blocking. And some of my moves, although the online fights were moving as fast as online and they didn't have any visible lag, the input recognition was a bit slower, and even characters that others were using a bit faster, and which I was using pretty fast offline. Online, even if the person wasn't blocking, there seemed to be oh wow, that was a heat move again. That's pretty good. Also, do you want to learn martial arts? Yeah. So that was there, but then I think that even in online, after, because sometimes I went front up, but after I lost around 5 or 6, I told you I started winning, and here I beat somebody with more proficiency. So, but I think if I was playing competitively, I certainly wouldn't use a Acer Predator Helios and this fight stick. So that was a bit disappointing. That I don't know whether it didn't work as well as it should did in the demo. So here we are, doing the arcade quest mode. So wherein you have a character with an avatar, and you pretend that you're exploring different arcades and you do different tournaments. So I think this is something there, like Street Fighter 6 had. I saw the demo has like a different kind of mode where you explore different areas, and you learn the moves of different characters. So it's like a more interactive kind of set up for offline players to get them to learn the mechanics of the game and skills they can use online as well. And I kind of get where this is coming from, that of late I've been playing retro Mortal Kombat games in the arcade. The new games are more technically refined fighters for competition, and they're a bit more detailed than what fun you can have in the arcade. But Tekken still has an arcade scene, because the way Tekken's controls are designed, it's easier to use on an arcade machine than MK, and it's a bit. I think there's a lot of hype about how graphic MK is, though I don't think it's that bad. I mean, like if you look at the kind of outfits you could set up for Nina and that Lydia Sobieska in Tekken 7, and they were like really some really swimsuit like outfits that left little to the imagination. And in Tekken 7 you could even see the sweat glisten on their bodies as you got into the fight and whatnot. But anyway, we are not showing any of that in this video, because even if I think that's family friendly, in case somebody doesn't. And in Tekken 8 there was a strong attempt to desexualize all of the lady characters, but that's okay. That's not why we don't really play the game to objectify anybody. And I don't necessarily think objectification is any non-respectful objectification is correct, but I have no views on the same. Whether or not you are bold, conservative, prude, whatnot, I'm okay with everybody. And personally, I have nothing against bold content, but I try to make content for all audiences and stuff like that. But anyway, that's a different kind of a thing. But yeah, they certainly made a point to totally desexualize all of the lady characters in Tekken 8 compared to prior ones. But oh yeah, that was a heat move again. So here I'm playing a arcade tournament in the Arcade Quest, which I go on to win, which is part of the reason I've captured the full play in this review, is to give you a detailed overview of how even the characters that I don't play as play. And I'm running this at max setting on Ultra, so I want to see how well it runs. So yeah, let me now actually, this is so interesting that even though I've done this, every time I try to tell you something, I get sidetracked by my own footage. So this is pretty interesting. And yeah, because once you edit the video and you cut stuff and create a composite of different stuff and add commentary, sometimes the editing software for these modern games, the end product doesn't look as good as it is on screen. But after my editing software kind of cuts and compiles it and then exports it in HD, YouTube has another process where they convert the video to high definition as well. So despite that double layering, what I found that retro games from 90s and early 2000s, they look much better on my YouTube channel than they are in person. But some of these modern games like Tekken 8 from 2024 or Mortal Kombat 1 from 2023, on my YouTube videos they may not look as impressive as they actually are in person. So if they still look good to you in HD on YouTube, you can imagine how good it is. So coming back to that, so I guess there are a lot of positives in this game. As I said, that special move mode and the ability to analyze your replays, and in practice mode, in addition to the you get a live information on frame data, as we saw while you're practicing or waiting in the online lobby. And so those are three key features that I think could even translate onto Mortal Kombat. And other than that, although this is a strictly competitive and competitive game that's also played both in arcades and in professional sports, there is a lot of content for single players, which is quite impressive. That even if you don't really like Tekken 8, you could still spend hours playing it, because they've made such immersive content, and they've made it easy for players who both either don't like it or are new to the game to get used to the mechanics. Oh wow, I got a perfect fight against but this isn't a ghost. I'll shortly be fighting against arcade ghosts of other players. So yeah, but it looks pretty impressive in this recording. So but that was my point, that there's plenty of content even for offline content for both players who are new to the game or are prefer other franchises. And there are ways in which they can you can still they make it easy for you to adopt the mechanics of this game to easily play through those modes and enjoy the story and whatnot. And they even have a detailed video library of, video summary of what happened in each of the prior Tekken games. So before you play the story mode, you even have an option of seeing through that. So that's pretty impressive. And another advantage is that when you go on, when you play online, as we'll shortly see the we'll see the match lobby for quick matches later on. You even have an option of choosing what connection type, what is your preference of the minimum connection, standard and crossplay. So that's pretty impressive. So this is like set up as like a hardcore, not just both casual and competitive game, and a game that lets you closely study your own play style and the style of others, and gives you sufficient tools to monitor your proficiency and improve the same. So that to me is pretty impressive. And one of the things I like here, that they've got this arena which reminds me of the Colosseum from like Spartacus or all of my other favorite Roman gladiatorian shows, and it even has a night setting which looks pretty good. And right now in this arcade fight, see, it's even giving you recommended moves, so that's pretty good. But I guess that once you get into the ranked matches or professional, all of this recommended move and that optional special move setup will go. So, and the other new feature that we've been seeing is this heat system here, where this guy, activated heat, which he can once a match, and it gives you additional power combos and whatnot. This is different from the standard rage. Now I'm about to activate rage art, which was also there. This was this was a heat system. Okay, yeah. For somebody who's from Mortal Kombat, they're both interchangeable. I'm like, yeah, I activated one of those damn things. But yeah, so that's pretty interesting. So you even have Rage Art, which when your health is reducing, you get access to certain moves. And there are tons of different moves and combos and mechanics in this. And another good thing about Tekken is the relative consistency, although some things have changed. Like, although this game improves each time, but if you've played, like I played some Tekken 3 in the early 2000s, and then over the last 10 years, I've occasionally played Tekken 6 and 5 and Tekken Tag 2 in the arcades, though not competitively. And then in 2021, when there were lockdowns in my regions and I was pretty much sitting at home in Christmas, I downloaded Tekken 7 and I played a lot of that. That was pretty good. But on the whole, I'm more or less a casual player who occasionally develops proficiency and whatnot. So one thing I notice is that if you've played like Forest Law or Martial Law, or if you've played a certain character in prior Tekkens, even though a new Tekken improves, it gives the character some new moves or some enhancements, the basic mechanics are still relatively similar. So although the character is enhanced and has more to it, but like if you have played Forest Law in Tekken 3 or in Tekken 6 and you're picking up Tekken 8 now, it would still be relatively easy for you to pick him up and just learn whatever new is additional, but a lot of it would still feel familiar. So that is good for you. But in this game, I think they've tried to, like, the creator or of this game, or the producers, what they said in Tekken 8, they're trying to get players to play more aggressively. You get rewarded for being aggressive rather than camping around like you could in prior Tekkens. And in order to make it fair, what I noticed that in some of the prior knockdown moves that I had in Tekken 7 with Martial Law or Forest Law, whichever law it is, in Tekken 8, those moves no longer have that long a knockdown, and opponents have a chance to counter or interrupt some of those. So I guess they're trying to balance the competitiveness. So they've removed the options to just sit and camp. They encourage players to play aggressively through the heat system. And in the prior Tekkens, there were some moves which were pretty OP. They still are OP, but it's not that easy to spam them, or there is like a lesser knockdown on some of those moves, or at least in my view. I haven't heard anyone else saying that. So that's pretty good. So here we are going back to the main menu to enter another mode. So all of that is pretty positive, I guess. And so there are plenty of positives from both the online and the single player content, because when I go to Mortal Kombat 1, it's technically the most excellent Mortal Kombat there is. It runs very well, but it feels like Shang Tsung stole its soul. If you play Mortal Kombat, you'd probably know what I mean. So, and it's got pretty less content for a single player single player compared to like Mortal Kombat 11 or 10, and it seems to be more biased towards pro or professional players. And this mandatory use of cameos is something that not everybody takes well to. So, although it's still interesting, I play it once in a while. The Mortal Kombat 1, although it's technically excellent, was, and here we are entering the arcade battle mode wherein you get to fight 7 or 8 opponents that you haven't. And I'm going to use this character that somebody used pretty well online, though I haven't quite used him before myself, Victor. So that's pretty interesting here. So we're playing Victor versus the Psycho Brian. So yeah, so that's more like it. So that's what I was a bit surprised at MK1. I wasn't happy, though there are towers and whatnot, but some of the towers are even cheaper than MK11. Though MK11 had its issues with a bit of grindiness and whatnot, but and there were ways of overcoming the grindiness and not worrying about the whatever art consumables you needed to play certain towers, or not worrying too much about character customization or spending too much time in presets, because it also told you which are the 2 or 3 presets allowed for competitive play, and you could do those. So that way you could enjoy the character customization or variations in MK11, or even create your own without having to worry about spending too much time on it or collecting too many artifacts or others. And here it's pretty interesting. So I was using Victor. I was trying to. Each character here has a power crush which can break a block, and they also have some counters which I need to learn. And I also need to figure out what are the frame rates of their move. Like in Mortal Kombat, how you play Mortal Kombat competitively online or in harder difficulties is you study the frame data. So certain moves of yours, recovery or attack, will have quicker frames than the others. So you got to know the frame rates of your moves and the other characters' moves, so you know with which moves you can block, which moves you can intercept their moves, and when you need to block and when you need to attack. But here in Tekken now, although like in the practice mode there is live frame data, and in the menus there are tons of moves, but it's a bit harder in Tekken compared to MK, where the data is published to figure that out. Because when you go to the training mode and you see the live frame data and whatnot, online the experience was still a bit different. And but when you play against the AI, you can kind of figure out that okay, that if I see the power crush used by this Victor and the others, their move takes a certain amount of time, so I should be able to intercept, like let's say Steve's certain punches, which I know have a startup time. But it, even if that works consistently, it doesn't always work that consistently at the harder level or online. So that's the one I could think of. Maybe it's linked to the devices or the controller I'm using, because I haven't heard anyone else complain about that. Because even in Mortal Kombat, although there's frames and consistency and whatnot, sometimes if you don't have a good device, or unless you're playing on those high-end consoles or PCs that are used for gaming tournaments, you wouldn't necessarily get the consistency in that frame rate that you should. Because when you're playing online, it also depends on the quality of your connection. But of course, if you want to go pro, you get a high-end console or one of those gaming computers that are used in pro competitions. So those will actually give you the consistency in terms of the move frame rate sticking to what is published. So if you're preparing for competitive play, that gives you a clear picture of how fast each move is, which of your moves can intercept the player when you need to respond, and what is the window between when the other player finishes their attack and blocks and leaves themselves open that you need to attack in. So that is a bit easier to figure out in Mortal Kombat for me, though in Tekken it's taken a while, although I've still been playing well, and I'm winning all the matches I've shown you here. I've won all of them except for the final match we'll see a bit later, because I won 2 of the online matches I showed you as well, but the final online match I'll show you was one against a much more proficient player, which I feel I should have won, but maybe the person got a bit lucky, or maybe it was linked to that. But I still did well, and I have potential that I use Victor, who I'm using for the first time here in this offline arcade battle, against Xiaoyu, whose moves I'm not familiar, and a player who had a far higher technical Tekken proficiency than me, and yet I was able to pressure her using a bit of, I could argue, some of the concepts I learned from Mortal Kombat or whatnot. So that's pretty much there. So there are plenty of positives in this, but now when it comes to the negatives of Tekken 8, one thing I was a bit disappointed was, like as I said, in the demo of Tekken 8, my fight stick worked pretty well and seamlessly, but in the actual game, very rarely offline and at times online, I wasn't quite happy with the responsiveness of the fight stick, but maybe it's different with controllers. That is one. And then the other thing I didn't like was it's a bit too glittery and sparkly for me, that each of the moves have a aura and there's a lot of flash and bang every time you hit something, and sometimes, and even particularly some of the heat moves and special moves, it's like a big clutter, and some of the special moves drag on for a bit too long. Like I know in Mortal Kombat you have those crazy X-rays and fatal blows or body blows or whatever the hell they're calling those, But I'm more of a traditional MK player, so oh yeah, here I'm winning with Victor, which is pretty good. So that's so while they do have those, not all characters. Like I had put up a video of me playing Li Mei in Mortal Kombat fighting Homelander. I had actually put up a photosensitivity warning to that because some of Li Mei's fatal blows and other moves are a bit glittery, sparkly, and flashy. But that's only Li Mei. But in Tekken, every damn thing glitters and sparkles like a damn celebration. That every time you do a heat move or special move or a reaction or whatnot, and there are a lot of visual effects, but it was always there in Tekken. Like when I played Tekken 6 and 7, they were a bit there, but Tekken 7 was still a bit easy on the eyes, but Tekken 8 is a bit harder on the eyes, at least for me, than Tekken 7. And but in a funny way, that's the same thing for me, that in 2023's MK1 feels a bit harder on the eyes than 2019's MK11, but you still eventually get used to it. But even with Tekken 8, now wow, you see here these effects you're seeing in person when you're playing it on a 17-inch computer screen, and it's okay if you play it in a big arcade screen where you're sitting a bit far off, but constantly having a glittery, sparkly thing like the Fatal Blow in MK for every second effect of that can be a bit off-putting. But even with the Tekken 8, after you keep it on for a while, and in addition to my computer setting, I also had to wear these blue light glasses. But maybe I'm a bit older than most of you guys. If you're in your teens or your early 20s, like most of these players are, you probably don't notice that as much as a slightly older person than I do, because I haven't seen anyone else complain about it. But I at least found it a bit annoying that this certainly is a bit more flashy. Not to the point where I would give it a photosensitivity warning. I don't know, because Mortal Kombat 1, as a precaution, does have a warning at the beginning of its game that some light sequences and others may not suit people who are sensitive to certain lights or epilepsy or whatnot. They may have given it just generally as a precaution. But in Tekken 8, I could be wrong, or maybe I clicked past it, but in my PC version, I didn't get any such warning. But I did find it a bit heavy. But what I had to do is I had to leave it on for a while, occasionally look the other side, and I've got these additional Blu-ray glass that those blue light blocking glasses that you get at chemists and others. I had to wear that and leave it on for a while, and then I was able to get used to Tekken 8 pretty easily without any eye strain. So that's Tekken for me. But yeah, I was supposed to get glasses, but eventually the optometrist was undecided on whether I need them or not. But that was a few years ago. I haven't checked, so maybe I need to check that as well. But I'm not medically qualified, like I'm not a medical person, so I can't comment whether there is anything in Tekken 8 that can affect photosensitive viewers. But what I can confirm as a fact is that Tekken 8 is a bit more flashier and has more sparkly visual and bright visual effects than Tekken 7. And Tekken 8 is a bit sparklier than a lot of Mortal Kombat 1. And Mortal Kombat 1 at the beginning of it does have a precautionary warning, not necessarily to the game but others. So that's something to note about. And here you see I'm playing an arcade ghost of a other online player, but it's not one of the best ghosts that this downloads, because this one just stood and blocked, and I just kept on pressuring him and getting him with chip damage. So yeah, so besides that bright sparkly visuals, and besides my controller not working that great online, those were a couple of things I didn't like about Tekken 8. And the other thing, minor thing I didn't like, is that we'll be shortly showing you this rubbish Tekken Ball mode. In Tekken 7, we had a beautiful Tekken bowling mode wherein you could play in a fun bowling alley with all characters, and you could use your pins, or like a normal pins or Hayachi pins. They replaced that with this bullshit Tekken mode, Tekken Ball mode, which I last saw in Tekken 3, and that was a bit disappointing. I mean, that why did you include Tekken Ball? Or I don't know, maybe their fans felt that that's the one. So here again we see a bit that. So that's that was another thing I didn't like about Tekken 8, the inclusion of the Tekken Ball. And the other thing that everyone's complained, which we talk about, though I personally don't care, like as a casual Tekken fan who's mainly into others, that there are apparently a lot of microtransactions in this game, and as we'll see, the character customization is almost as detailed as Tekken 7, but unlike Tekken 7, there are a lot of skins and stuff that you need to buy in store. To be fair, just for fun, I did end up buying one of them, but yeah, so if you're a hardcore Tekken fan, or if those customizations actually mean something to you, some of those microtransactions may put you off, but I think there were microtransactions in Mortal Kombat 11 and 1 as well. You could just ignore them. So that is something you can ignore, because I don't, at least from a casual fan who's just picked up this game 2 days ago, I don't see it impacting your experience. And here we're playing another ghost of Yoshimitsu. For once he's wearing a human outfit, because we usually see him in those weird alien outfits. And oh, got him there, Yoshimitsu. Yeah, this Victor guy seems to be moving pretty well. Yeah, so that's there. So that was I guess that one other thing that I wasn't quite like impressed about was like yeah, but yeah, so here we are fighting the final devil, Kazuya, whatnot. So, but that was the like yeah. So once we've looked at the different online and the replay modes and whatnot, but yeah, the other minor issue I had, interesting issue I had, is that for some reason when I'm playing this on what do you say, like this Windows 11 and an Acer Predator, somehow, even though this is in my main Steam games library, my NVIDIA GeForce Experience, which is a tool that accompanies all NVIDIA graphics card, not just in laptops like mine, which helps you optimize the settings of your game and keep your NVIDIA drivers correct, it somehow doesn't recognize or list this game, which is pretty weird. But I was still able to run it in Ultra and optimize it, but I found it pretty strange that my NVIDIA card doesn't recognize that this game that I've officially purchased from Steam is in my Steam library. So that was I found a bit odd as well. So yeah, that was pretty much a big thing. And the other thing is that Tekken 8 is meant to be one of the first games which runs on an Unreal 5 engine. But, and okay, here we are seeing that rubbish Tekken Ball mode. I'm just going to demonstrate it to you. In this fight I didn't even win. I won a Tekken Ball match yesterday, but I don't quite care about it, so I'm just going to let it play in the background if you're interested in seeing it while I continue talking. So yeah, that was pretty weird that my NVIDIA GeForce Experience does not recognize that this game is in my library. And what I found was that while it's the 27 GB demo of this game ran pretty seamlessly on my device. I use a Acer Predator Helios Neo, which is like a 13th generation i7 from mid 2023, and it has a 6 GB RAM NVIDIA RTX 4060 6 GB graphics card, 16 GB RAM, and around like a 512 terabyte smart screen. And it's normally good at playing games at ultra and multitasking, though I know there are better configurations out there. And normally if you're hardcore into gaming, you'd get a desktop, not a laptop like I have, but I have multiple uses for this, so I'm using a laptop. So even then, like, it's a good test. And here we're seeing the character customization, and a lot of the ladies models, if you customize them, they have a very similar facial and body structure, which is a bit weird because in Tekken 7 and others they were a bit unique. And even here, once you actually fight them in the menu, or you look at them in the menu, or you play in a fight, they all look distinct. But if you try to customize them, a lot of the models seem to be overlapping. That there is one case where if you use a certain wig or a certain hairstyle on Zafina, you can make her look like Nina, or vice versa. But I don't think anybody cares, or I don't think as a casual fan I particularly care much about that. But this is one of the few games that's running on Unreal 5. And now, even though I'm running it on ultra settings, I didn't see anything, that significantly enhanced. Like we'll shortly see Mortal Kombat 1, which I also run on ultra settings, and I honestly thought in a lot of places Mortal Kombat 1 had better graphics than Tekken here. But bear in mind, I could be a bit biased towards Mortal Kombat as a Mortal Kombat fan. But what I've also done is towards the end of this video, as I mentioned in the introduction, as you'll see in my chapter selection, and particularly if you're a Tekken fan who doesn't play much Mortal Kombat, in the last few minutes of this video I have a demonstration of MK1 in Ultra. Don't worry, there are no fights because MK1 is a bit more graphic, and that I haven't included any actual fighting, just a display of the menu and the graphics in MK1. So I was a bit surprised that given this is Unreal Engine 5 and whatnot, at least on my device with my specs, even playing it on Ultra, I didn't see a significant enhancement, anything better than Mortal Kombat 1. And yep, this is the other good feature, that when you play online you can choose the level of connection and whether you want to enable cross-platform play. That's pretty good. And now we'll shortly get into a fight with a Lin Xiaoyu player. I'm going to be using Victor, who I used for the first time in an offline arcade battle while shooting this video. And yesterday it was matching me against players at my level, but here right now in the lobby I'm playing Kazuya, but eventually it'll match me to a Lin Xiaoyu player who had a much higher proficiency and level of time on the game than I did. Though it'll be interesting fight, you'd see that I still pushed that that player quite hard, and I nearly won. I feel had my controller been a bit, had the game been a bit more, I don't know, something happened. I thought that my controls weren't as responsive as they should have, and it may not just be a rant because I lost, because I did win some online matches, like those 2 online matches whose replay I showed you. And yesterday at one point I won 2 or 3 online matches together, which is not bad because I just started playing this game yesterday, and I last played Tekken 7 in early 2021, and that too casually. So it's not bad for me to win a few online matches, and even against players of a high proficiency, if I nearly won, which shows I do have potential if I decide to get interested in this game, which I probably would if it wasn't so damn bright or sparkly. I'm like, do you need like such all of that glitter or that aura for every damn effect? And another thing, so we found this opponent, and another thing that's different about Tekken, that when I casually played Tekken in the arcades, Tekken 5 or 6, on the big screen, it was pretty alright, it was fun. But when you're playing it at home on the computer, the zoom is a bit different. That when you see Mortal Kombat 1, the level of zoom into the environment is a bit different, and including the distance between the players and the focus, the depth of focus is a bit different. So in Tekken, it feels like it's a bit more close than Mortal Kombat, and which is a bit interesting. It seems both bigger environments or others. But yeah, here you see I'm playing against a player with a Tekken prowess of 44328, and I have a Tekken prowess of 100. And initially I was started off badly, but then I really pressured this player with Victor using some kind of concepts that I learned in the MK training or whatever. And and I actually win a couple of rounds, and then you need to win 3 rounds to win the online. And this is the heat mode, so I just did a nice combo with the heat mode and whatnot. And do I get her in this round as well? Oh, I do, yeah, KO. So I win 2 rounds, she wins 2 rounds, and somehow I lost the final one. It's it's not a she, okay, it's Mike Oxlong, okay. So yeah, there's a good player, credit to a good match and all that. So I don't think he did anything wrong. He won on merit, but so I don't think he was doing anything wrong. But I certainly do feel that my controls weren't as responsive as they should have been, due to which I've missed a few punishes both online and offline, because yesterday I did win a few online matches, but in the matches I lost, there were moves I should have done which weren't happening, so which could be linked to my Acer Predator or the controller. So you see here I actually won the first 2 rounds, but then I lose 3 rounds, which is a bit surprising. But so I think that I also didn't know Lin Xiaoyu and her moves, so that was another thing. And in some cases that it didn't really pick my response as well as it should have, but it just shows how OP Victor is. When I played Victor against an online player yesterday, it was almost untouchable, and here I'm using Victor for the first time against a much more experienced player, and I pressured him pretty good, I think. Yeah, so that's pretty interesting, and after a while I was just button mashing. But that's the other thing, that Tekken looks a bit slower than MK, but you've got to put the pace on your own. And in MK, you spend, although it looks fast, you spend a lot of, because it's got special moves, and you got to counter zoners, and you got to counter special moves. There's a lot of speed, but there's a lot of tactics as well. But in Tekken, I think after a while, you just need to button mash, because when you play offline, and certain players move much faster than you think is possible, because I think beyond a point, you just got to button mash in Tekken as well. Although there's a lot of strategy and tactics, I found some things in MK were a bit more nuanced, and here maybe I was trying to play it as like I do MK, so I struggled a bit. But this is certainly, more translatable. Like after playing MK, if I had to pick up another fighting game, I would certainly take this one, because Street Fighter is something totally different. I think my personal view is one that's cartoony junk, although it's considered a more technical fighter. I don't know, because it has a wider move set and a bigger set of controls or whatnot. But I'm personally not very fond of Street Fighter, but I was impressed by their demo as well and the features they have. So this is where this character won, though I came pretty close had it not been for, I think, some kind of input recognition thing with my controller. But I'm impressed. Like, I just got this yesterday and I still pushed this guy quite well. But then that's the other thing. When I tried rematching, the game crashed. The game actually froze, and I had to put on Task Manager and shut it. So that's another thing I didn't like, that when I got the 27 GB demo, it was running pretty well, and the load times weren't that high on the menu and whatnot, and I didn't have any issues with input recognition or crashing. But when I got the full game, although it's 80 GB, just a bit more, and the fights still run very well. The fights are still running pretty well, but yeah, sometimes some of them. And here we cut to Mortal Kombat 1. So you see the distance between the players is a bit different, and the zoom, the depth of focus between the player and the background, to me is a bit easier on the eyes than Tekken, which is a bit more up close and personal. But look at this, like you see the trees fluttering in the breeze, you see the leaves flying around, you see the person's shadow move, you see the shadow of objects moves with that. And if you see here, look at the background, look at the waterfall, water falling from that building way far away. Now that's the difference between Mortal Kombat 10 from 2015, Mortal Kombat 11 from 2019, and this Mortal Kombat 1 from 2023. Although that waterfall is in the distance, you can actually see the water running, which is quite impressive, and this is a pretty nice setup, and this is on the same device that I showed you, Tekken 1, and this is also in Ultra. So that's the level of detail. And now this is the lady whose special moves and fatal blows are glittery and sparkly. As you'd see, I've filmed a separate video of these two guys fighting. I play as the lady in this one, and yeah, and that's against the infamous Homelander. And now let's see these guys also have plenty of options and settings that you have different practice settings, you have a different thing, and then and then MK also has a number of, both Mortal Kombat 1 and Tekken have a number of accessibility settings, including modifying the visuals based on different levels of color blindness or sound, others and whatnot. But other than that, yeah, there's plenty of settings in the menu and others. So here I'm just demoing the roster of Mortal Kombat 1, and and then so you've got a tutorial mode here, and yeah, so here it's a mixed view on, does MK1 have a better training mode or does Tekken? So here we are seeing MK1 offers training on basics and offense, including juggle combos, and defense, including blocking, positioning, frame data, whatnot. This way, I think there's some aspects here which are slightly better, because in Tekken, although these things were there, you needed to pick them up on your own through the menus, and you could see combo demos in Tekken as well. But here you can actually run through, like MK also covers the defense a bit better. Like in Tekken, all of the defensive moves and data are all up in the menu, you got to practice, but MK can teach you, like, how to put pressure, to You can go to the training mode to learn wake up attacks and different get up attacks and counters and how to build pressure and positioning and that. But honestly, the best training mode was in MK11, not in MK1, because in MK1 they removed the character specific tactics training with the advanced combo thing that you got to practice on your own. It does demo the combo for you though, which even Tekken does. But in MK11 there was actual advice on because there are a lot of moves to go through. It actually gives you advice on what moves have what frames and which of your characters move could be used to create pressure in certain circumstances and whatnot, and which moves are useful for controlling space. And when I played online, I found that as well, that if like Kung Lao's certain 1-2-1-2 combo is a faster reaction time than most moves and is useful for controlling space, that was there online as well. But as a Mortal Kombat player in Tekken, unless you spend a bit more time going through the menu and practicing, it won't be that easy to pick up that data and identify which of your moves are faster or than the others or not. And when I played it online, at least on my device, that input wasn't that consistent. On certain moves that should have been faster than the others didn't play, but on the whole it was all right. That what I found when I played Tekken online, you'd play first, you'd lose a few matches, but once you adapt to how your controller and the system and connection is playing, then you start winning. Though I guess it's also about enjoying and all that, but yeah, that's there. And even in Mortal Kombat 1, I guess that but I think so it's kind of like two sides of the two same sides of a different franchise. Like MK1 is from 2023 is much more technically advanced, and here are some new online options they had, by the way, than Mortal Kombat 11 from 2019. But it's a bit short on content, and it's received mixed views from certain fans. Like although it's still dominating the competitive scene, but there's been a bit of a mixed feedback on the live service model. Now, similarly, Tekken 8 is much more advanced than prior Tekkens, and unlike MK1, it actually has a lot of single player content and it has some more advanced features. But then the thing is that does it deliver on those advanced features? That is one thing. And then Tekken 8 had also received some criticism from its fan base in terms of the inclusion or exclusion of certain characters and the microtransactions, which I didn't really worried about. And Tekken 8 is a bit of a change, like it's more of a focus on aggressive gameplay, or so they say. So I guess that but my final view on Tekken 8 is that it has got a lot of good features that other games can adopt, and it has tremendous both support for online and competitive players, and it has tons of single player content as well. But personally, on my device, I was a bit disappointed with the quality of the gameplay, and although they have a lot of options to customize and improve your online experience, I was a bit disappointed with the quality of the gameplay and the input recognition for my fight stick. But on the whole, it was still manageable. That I'm not playing competitively, and it's been only 2 days since I've had that. So I think Tekken 8 is in summary is a pretty ambitious project. It has tons of good features, but it it's waits to be seen whether its gameplay actually delivers and lives up to its hype. And Unreal Engine 5, so far the graphics look impressive, but are they significantly better than what else is out there? At this point, it's hard to say. So interesting experience on the whole. Great. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Do let me know your thoughts and what you want to see next.